there, thanks for stopping by. I hope that you'll follow along today as I share a favorite recipe for chicken and dumplings. Chicken and dumplings is like an old-fashioned stew or soup, and it has some sort of dumpling on top. Some people make more of a noodle type and some make more of a biscuit type. So I'll be sharing our favorite recipe, but I'm also going to share it a second time with some shortcuts that really cut back on the time. So let's get started. Okay, the ingredients that we need are 3 to 4 pounds of chicken, and I have thighs here, but you could use any cut you like, and it's recommended to use bone-in, skin-on, just for more flavor in your chicken broth. And then we need 5 tablespoons of butter, about 1.5 to 2 cups of diced carrots, diced celery, and diced onion, and about a cup of peas. Now, if you don't want these vegetables, you can leave them out. And then we need about a 1/3 cup of flour, and we need a 1/2 cup of heavy cream, milk or half and half, about 6 cups of chicken stock or chicken broth. And then for extra flavor, I love this better than bouillon, but it has a lot of sodium in it, so I'm going to add like 1 teaspoon. You could also just add like a sodium-free packet, 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons. That you can just amp up however much you want. And we'll have salt and pepper for seasoning. And then we have about 1/4 teaspoon of thyme and about 2 teaspoons of dried parsley and a couple bay leaves. I'll share the ingredients for the dumplings when we're ready for that. So let's go ahead and get cooking. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is to saute our carrots, onions, and celery. So we'll go ahead and put those in with our butter. And we'll saute that for about 5 or 6 minutes. Let the vegetables soften up here. And then we'll come back. So our veggies are softening up. So now we can add our 1/3 cup of flour. And we'll stir that in, making sure it's completely coating the veggies. This will be a thickener for the soup or stew. We'll let that cook for a minute or two. Cook that flour flavor out of there. Okay, now we're ready to add our chicken. I have just a hair more than 4 pounds. Now it's time to season up. And then our 2 bay leaves, and we'll take those out before we serve it. And then we'll pour in our broth or stock. Okay, I'll mix that together a little bit. Then we're going to cover, I have my heat on medium-high, and then we'll cover this and let the chicken cook for about 20-25 minutes until it's done. Okay, our chicken is done, and so we will remove it, put it on a plate, and then while we make the dumplings, we'll also cut up the chicken and retrieve our bay leaves here. Okay, now we'll go ahead and make up our dumplings. And for the dumplings, we will need 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and about 1/4 cup of chives or parsley or something like that. You don't have to add that, but it actually gives a lot of flavor. I'll whisk this together. Then I'm just going to make a little hole in the center, a well. And then I'll put in our 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and I'm going to put in our 3/4 cups of milk. And then I'll just gently stir that in. Don't want to overwork the dough. In case you haven't realized it by now, I'm basically making a biscuit mix. We prefer the biscuit type instead of the noodle type. The noodle is fine, but it's not our favorite. So just gently mix this together, just until the flour is all incorporated. Okay, now it's ready to drop into the pan. Let me move the camera. Now you can scoop it in with a scooper. You can also just use a couple spoons, and they don't have to be any certain size or anything, except that you should make them all about the same. That way they cook more evenly. My house smells amazing. You want to try to be careful not to clump them all together too. This is such a hearty dish. It's great as a comfort food in the cold days of fall or winter. Okay, then I'll just gently stir, not wanting to disturb the biscuits, but just gently stir to make sure that they're all separated and covered. And then we're going to cover and let those cook for about 15 or 20 minutes, just until the biscuit inside is done. So we'll come back when that's done. Okay, the last step is to add our chicken back in, add our peas, and our heavy cream. Oh, it looks yummy. Still being careful not to break open the biscuits. We'll give that about 5 minutes to thicken up a little bit, and then it's ready to serve. Here we have our delicious bowl of chicken and dumplings, the old-fashioned way. It smells delicious. Okay, as promised, I'll show you this recipe again, but in a simpler version. We're starting with 3 cups of cooked chicken. This is actually rotisserie chicken, but you could use any chicken that's cooked, or turkey. And we are also going to be using a box of Cheddar Bay biscuits. You could also use refrigerator biscuits, just cut them into 4s and then plop them in. But we'll go ahead and get started with the simple version that cuts about half the time. And we won't be adding our chicken right away. We'll add that when we do the biscuits. So let's get started. Okay, we start the same with our butter, and then we will add our onions, carrots, and celery. And we'll give that a stir and let that saute for about 5 or 6 minutes until the veggies are a little soft. So we'll come back when that's done. Our vegetables are soft, so now we can add in our flour. We'll stir that well so all the flour is mixed in. And we'll cook that for a couple minutes. Okay, now we will add our seasonings. Our 1 teaspoon of better than bouillon, about 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, and 2 teaspoons of parsley. We'll stir that. Add our bay leaves, our broth. Mix that in a little bit, and then we're going to cover it and let it come to a boil. Then we'll add our chicken and our biscuits. While we're waiting for that to come together, we'll stir together our biscuit mix. We just simply dump the package into the bowl with 1/4 cup of water, and then add the seasoning packet that comes with it. We'll just mix that together. Okay, now we'll do just the same as we did before. We'll just drop my spoonful in here. Also, I should note, I didn't mention it before, that if you want a thicker soup or stew, just add equal amounts of cornstarch and water and then stir that in, and that will thicken it. If you want it thinner, just add more broth. Okay, and like before, we'll just push them down so that they're getting some of that liquid, but we're going to be real careful not to pull them apart. Okay, and then we will add our peas, our heavy cream, and our chicken. We'll cover and let that cook for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll check to make sure they're done. Okay, this is done. So we'll plate it up. Biscuit for the top. Our simple version is done in about half the time, and it's delicious. I want to let you know that you can also freeze this recipe. It will be good for about 3 months. When you're ready to reheat it, just take it out, let it thaw in the refrigerator, and then heat it on the stove. You can also make this recipe in the crock pot. What you would need to do is to saute your vegetables in butter, just like we did prior to, and then stick everything in the crock pot, including the raw chicken, and then add your seasonings and broth and all that, and cook it on high for 2 to 3 hours, or on low for 5 to 6 hours. And then at the very end, about 45 minutes before you're ready to serve, you can make up your dumplings and put them in, and then just test for doneness before you serve. So I hope that you'll try the recipe. The instructions and recipe are down below, so check that out and let me know if you plan to make some homemade chicken and dumplings. Come back again. See you soon. And retrieve our bay leaves here. There's one of them. Where are you? There it is. Lost it again. Well, a mistake. There he is. And this is not the right tool to use.